Hello, and welcome in my little corner of the internet. My name is Jess, and here we read all kinds of stories. Some are true stories, some fiction, and some true stories that we sometimes wish were fiction. We do them all. So if you're into intriguing, dark, and scary tales, it's time to kick back, chill, and relax. If you're new here, welcome. Stay a bit, see if you like it. We'd love to have you. The Silver Wolf Queen. Chapter 2. The Fall. For several long seconds after Kane's rejection, Ivy couldn't hear anything. The world around her became distant, muted, as though she had been pushed beneath the surface of a frozen lake. She saw mouths moving, saw wolves staring, saw expressions of shock and disbelief. Yet none of it seemed real. Only the pain was real. The agony tearing through her chest felt as though invisible claws were ripping her heart apart from the inside. She tried to stand up, but her knees struck the stone floor once again. The sacred circle blurred. Tears filled her eyes. Not because she wanted to cry, because her body could no longer contain the pain. The bond had been real. She knew it, the same way every wolf present here also knew it. The moon goddess herself had chosen them, and Kane had rejected her anyway. I reject Ivy as my mate. The words echoed through her mind again, and again, and again. Each repetition felt like another knife. Around her, the silence finally broke. Whispers spread through the gathering. Then laughter. Cruel laughter. The kind that only comes when people witness someone else's humiliation. I knew it. An Omega could never be Luna, she heard someone said. The Alpha did the right thing, said another. She should be grateful he even looked at her. Ivy lowered her head. Each word landed like a blow. Yet none of them hurt as much as Kane's silence. Because even now, she found herself looking toward him. Looking for regret. Looking for doubt. Looking for some sign that he understood what he had done. But Kane stood tall within the moonlit circle, unmoved, unapologetic. His face revealed nothing. And that made everything worse. Because if he hated her, she could understand it. If he despised her, she could understand that too. But indifference? That was unbearable. To be rejected so completely that the person who shattered your world felt absolutely nothing. That was a different kind of cruelty. One Ivy had never imagined. The lead elder finally stepped forward. His expression was troubled. Alpha Kane. The elder's voice carried through the crowd. The moon goddess herself has revealed this bond. Kane's jaw tightened. I am aware. Well, such bonds are sacred, the man said, worried, but before he could finish voicing his concern, Kane's voice cut him off. And I have made my decision. The elder hesitated for a moment before speaking again, a dangerous thing for an elder to do in front of the entire pack. The consequences may be severe, not just for you, but also the entire pack. I said what I said. The firmness in Kane's voice left no room for debate. The elder fell silent. Around the circle, wolves exchanged uneasy glances. What does this mean? Even those who disliked Ivy understood something unsettling had occurred. Fated mates were rare. Rejecting one was rarer still. Rejecting one publicly? That was just unheard of. The moon goddess was not known for forgiving insults. Ivy struggled to stand. Every movement shot another wave of pain through her body. The shattered remnants of the bond still burned inside her chest. Her legs felt weak and unsteady. For a moment, she thought she might collapse again. Then a familiar hand touched her shoulder. Mara. The older woman pushed through the crowd despite the stares. Concern filled her eyes. Oh, dear child, she cried. The simple kindness nearly broke Ivy. No one else looked at her with concern. Most looked relieved. Others looked amused. A few looked disgusted. But Mara looked heartbroken. I'm all right. The lie came automatically. Mara squeezed her shoulder. Poor child. Her voice cracked. You're not. For the first time that night, Ivy nearly cried. Not because of the rejection. Not because of the pain. Because somebody cared. One person. One single person in a crowd of hundreds. The realization felt both comforting and devastating at the same time. Before either woman could speak further, another voice cut through the square. Why is she still standing here? Derek. The warrior trainee stepped forward wearing a grin that made Ivy's stomach turn. His confidence had returned now that the Alpha had spoken. Several others quickly joined him. The ceremony is over. She's not Luna. Never was and never will be. Send her back to the kitchens. Laughter followed. Mara glared at them. Enough. The young wolves ignored her. The older woman folded her arms looking at them with raised eyebrows. Then one of them, brave enough to raise his opinion while Mara glared at him, said, Honestly, I mean, what did she think was going to happen? Maybe she thought she'd become Luna overnight, his friend answered from the back. Imagine that, another said while crunching his nose while looking her up and down like she was a disgusting spectacle of some sort. More laughter. Ivy lowered her eyes. The worst part wasn't their cruelty. The worst part was knowing they had always felt this way. Tonight simply gave them permission to say it out loud. The crowd slowly began dispersing. Families returned home. Visitors resumed their celebrations. Life continued as though nothing important had happened. As though a young woman's world hadn't just been destroyed right in front of them. Ivy remained standing in the center of the sacred circle. Alone. The moon still shone overhead. Bright. Beautiful. But uncaring. Just hours earlier she had believed the moon goddess had finally remembered her. Now, she wasn't sure what to believe. Had fate made a mistake? Had the goddess chosen wrong? Or had Kane simply decided his pride mattered more than destiny? She didn't know. And deep down, she wasn't too sure that she really wanted the answer. The following morning was worse. Much, much worse. News of the rejection had spread through the entire territory overnight. By sunrise, every wolf knew. Every servant. Every warrior. Every child. They all knew what happened. And they all had opinions. Ivy felt their stares everywhere she went. The whispers followed her through the village. Some mocked her. Some felt pity for her. Others simply watched. Like spectators examining a wounded animal. She carried baskets through the market. No one offered assistance. No one greeted her. The humiliation hung around her neck like a chain. Then came the summons. A young messenger found her shortly before noon. The Alpha Council requests your presence. Ivy froze. Fear settled into her stomach. The council. The boy nodded. Immediately. A terrible feeling washed over her. This wasn't over. Not even close. Something worse was coming. She could feel it. And for the first time since the rejection, genuine fear began replacing the heartbreak. Because heartbreak was familiar. But fear was not. The council chamber occupied the highest point of the Alpha Hall. Ancient stone walls surrounded a circular room where generations of Alphas had ruled. When Ivy entered, every seat was occupied. Elders. Warriors. Council members. Beta Rowan. And Kane. Of course Kane was there. He stood at the Alpha's throne with his arms crossed. His expression remained unreadable. Ivy hated herself for noticing. Hated herself for still caring. The room fell silent as she approached. No smiles greeted her. No kindness. Only judgment. The Alpha himself finally spoke. His voice carried the weight of authority. Ivy. She bowed her head. Alpha. The council has reached a decision, he said calmly. Her pulse quickened. The Alpha's gaze hardened. The events of last night have created instability within the pack. Instability? Interesting choice of words. As though she had caused this. As though she had asked to be chosen. As though she had rejected herself. The council believes your continued presence may lead to division. Ivy felt her stomach drop. No, surely not. The Alpha continued. Therefore, effective immediately, you are hereby exiled from Black Moon territory. The words struck harder than Kane's rejection. Exiled. Not punished. Not reassigned. Exiled. Gone. Forever. A ringing filled her ears. For several seconds, she couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Couldn't move. You can't be serious. The words escaped before she could stop them. Gasps filled the chamber. Several council members frowned. The Alpha remained unmoved. The decision has been made. Ivy turned toward Kane. Surely he would say something. Surely he wouldn't allow this. Their eyes met. For one brief moment, hope flickered. Then Kane looked away. And Ivy understood. He wasn't stopping this. He wanted it. The silence inside the council chamber felt suffocating. Ivy stared at Kane. Waiting. Hoping. Praying. Anything. A protest. A single sign that he wasn't willing to throw her away so easily. But still, nothing came. Kane simply stood at the Alpha's throne. Cold and distant. Untouchable. As though she meant absolutely nothing to him. The realization settled heavily inside her chest. This wasn't happening because he couldn't stop it. This was happening because he wouldn't stop it. The council had spoken. And Kane had allowed it. Perhaps he had even encouraged it. Something inside Ivy finally cracked. Not loudly or dramatically, just a quiet fracture deep within her heart. The place where hope had lived. The place where she had spent years believing things could somehow get better. That place suddenly felt empty. The Alpha nodded toward two warriors standing near the doorway. You will be escorted to the northern border. Ivy blinked. Today, she asked, shocked. Yes. Immediately, the Alpha ordered. No time to prepare. No time to say goodbye. No time to process the destruction of her entire life. Just leave. Like unwanted garbage being thrown out. Mara's face flashed through her mind. The small room she slept in. The kitchen. The village. The mountains. Everything she had ever known. Gone. Just like that. One of the warriors stepped forward. Come. Ivy remained still. For a brief moment, rebellion stirred inside her. A fierce desire to scream. To demand answers. To force them all to acknowledge how wrong this was. But what would be the point? No one here cared. She lifted her chin. Straightened her shoulders. And walked out on her own. If they wanted her gone, they would not get the satisfaction of dragging her away. The journey through the village felt like a nightmare. Word had spread quickly, and by the time Ivy reached the square, wolves lined the streets. Watching. Waiting. Judging. The crowd parted as she passed. Some whispered. Others openly stared. A few looked pleased. Derek stood near the fountain. The same smug grin still plastered across his face. I guess the forest gets its meal after all. Several wolves laughed. Ivy kept walking. She refused to give him the reaction he wanted. The laughter followed her anyway. A woman muttered something about curses. A man claimed the moon goddess was punishing her. Others simply shook their heads as though her exile were inevitable. As though her suffering made perfect sense. Only one voice called her name. Ivy. She turned. Mara pushed through the crowd. Tears streamed down her face. The older woman carried a small bundle wrapped in cloth. You can't leave like this. The warriors moved to stop her, but Mara ignored them. She thrust the bundle into Ivy's hands. Food, a blanket, a water skin. Simple things. Yet somehow the gesture nearly shattered Ivy's composure. Mara, thank you. You listened to me. The older woman grabbed both of her hands. Her voice trembled. You survive, you hear me? The words hung between them. Raw, desperate. You hear me? Mara said again. Tears filled Ivy's eyes. I hear you. No matter what happens. Mara squeezed harder. You survive. The warrior stepped forward again. The moment was over. Mara pulled Ivy into a fierce embrace. The kind only mothers give. The kind Ivy had never truly known. Then she stepped back. Unable to speak. Unable to watch. Ivy turned away before she completely broke down and continued walking toward the northern gate, toward exile, toward whatever waited beyond. The Forest of No Return earned its name honestly. Every pack in the region knew the stories. Travelers vanished there. Warriors disappeared there. Entire hunting parties had entered its depths and never returned. Some claimed monsters lived beneath the ancient trees. Others spoke of spirits, curses, forgotten gods, but no one really knew the truth because no one survived long enough to tell it. The northern border stood less than 2 hours from the village. The entire walk passed in silence. The warriors escorting her seemed eager to leave. Neither attempted conversation. Neither offered sympathy. By late afternoon, they reached the border stones. Massive weathered markers stretched across the forest edge. Beyond them waited darkness. Not literal darkness. The sun still shone overhead. Yet the forest somehow seemed dimmer than the world around it. Older. Ancient. The trees rose like giants. Their twisted branches blocked most of the sky. Mist drifted lazily between thick trunks. The air felt unnaturally still. Even the birds avoided it. One warrior cleared his throat. This is as far as we go. Ivy stared into the forest. Fear crawled through her stomach. For the first time all day, the reality of her situation truly settled in. She was alone. Completely alone. No pack. No home. No future. Only the forest. And whatever horrors waited inside it. The second warrior pointed toward the trees. Cross the stones. Ivy didn't move. What happens if I don't? The warriors exchanged glances. The first shrugged. Then we force you. At least they were honest. Slowly Ivy stepped forward. The ancient border stones towered above her, covered in faded runes. Warnings left by generations long dead. She hesitated. One final time. One final look back. The mountains stood proudly behind her. The valley shimmered beneath the afternoon sun. Far beyond the horizon rested the only home she had ever known. And not a single person came running after her. Not Kane. Not the pack. No one. The message was clear. She was unwanted. A lump formed in her throat. Then she crossed the border. The moment her foot touched the forest floor, something changed. A strange chill raced across her skin. The air felt different. Heavier somehow. The hairs on her arms stood upright. Behind her, the warriors immediately began retreating. Relieved. Eager to leave. Neither looked back. Within moments, they disappeared from sight. And Ivy was alone. Truly alone. The silence felt overwhelming. No village sounds. No distant conversations. No clashing weapons from training grounds. Nothing. Only the whispering wind. the creaking trees, and her own breathing. She swallowed hard and began walking. Hours passed. The deeper Ivy traveled, the stranger the forest became. The trees grew larger there for some reason. Older. Some appeared thousands of years old. Their roots twisted across the ground like enormous serpents. Their trunks were wider than houses. The fading sunlight barely reached the forest floor and shadows stretched everywhere. The air carried a faint silver mist. At first, Ivy assumed exhaustion was affecting her imagination, but then she began noticing things. Strange things. Movement where none should exist. Whispers drifting through the trees. Brief flashes of silver light. Several times she spun around, convinced someone was following her. Each time she found nothing. Only silence. Only shadows. As night approached, fear settled heavily in her chest. She needed shelter, food, a plan. Instead, she had none of those things. The reality of survival suddenly felt very real. Eventually, she found a small clearing surrounded by massive roots. It wasn't much, but it offered protection. Ivy wrapped herself in Mara's blanket and sat beneath one of the ancient trees. The forest seemed even quieter after sunset, almost as though it were listening, watching, waiting. The moon slowly rose overhead. Silver light filtered through the canopy, painting the clearing in pale, ghostly colors. Ivy stared upward. For the first time since the ceremony, anger surfaced. Raw. Painful. Why? Tell me why. Her voice sounded tiny beneath the ancient trees. No answer came. So she continued yelling. Why choose me? Tears filled her eyes. If this was my destiny, why choose me at all? The moon offered no explanation. Only silence. The same silence she had endured her entire life. Eventually exhaustion won. Her eyes grew heavy. Her body ached. Slowly she drifted toward sleep. Then something happened. A sound. A low, distant howl. Ivy's eyes snapped open. Her pulse thundered. Another howl answered. Then another. Then dozens. The forest came alive. The howls echoed from every direction. Not ordinary wolves. There was something different about them. Something ancient. Something powerful. A strange silver glow appeared between the trees. One light. Then another. Then hundreds. Eyes. Glowing silver eyes. Watching her from the darkness. Ivy froze. Terror locked every muscle in her body. The eyes remained motionless. Silent. Observing. Then, impossibly, one stepped forward. A massive wolf emerged from the shadows. Larger than any wolf Ivy had ever seen. Its silver fur shimmered beneath the moonlight. Ancient golden eyes fixed upon her. The creature studied her quietly, almost knowingly. And for the first time in her life, the strange emptiness inside her stirred. Deep within her chest, something moved. Something alive. Something that had been sleeping for a very long time. The great silver wolf lowered its head. Not in threat. Not in warning. But in recognition. And that's where we'll leave Ivy for now. Cast out by her pack. Rejected by her mate. Banished to a forest where no wolf has ever returned from. But what if the stories were wrong? What if the forest of no return wasn't a prison, but a doorway instead? In the next chapter, Ivy will come face to face with the mysterious silver wolves of the forest and begin uncovering secrets that have been buried for centuries. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is there right now. I love seeing how far these stories travel and who's joining us from around the world. And if you're enjoying The Silver Wolf Queen Every subscriber helps us move one step closer to our next community milestone and keeps these adventures coming, so please subscribe. Until next time, be blessed and be safe out there.